Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Ask Jameen. I'm Nicci Willis, and
I'm Ask Jameen.
And today we are doing a special investing edition. Many of you have asked about one of the investment strategies, the BRRRR method. So why don't we get into that right now? Here we go. Now, before we get started, we want to thank everybody that has subscribed and all of you who are watching week in and week out. We love it. We love to see it. So if you haven't subscribed, make sure that you hit that subscribe button right there. And while you're at it, make sure you hit that bell right next to it to make sure that you are getting those notifications every time we upload new content. Also, make sure you share these episodes. These are meant for you to share with your family, your friends, and anybody who wants to know about real estate. All right, so let's get started. We said the BRRRR method, and you just did like this, and it has nothing to do with the temperature. It's actually an investment strategy. So, babe, why don't you explain, or why don't we both explain what the BRRRR method is?
Okay, so the BRRRR method is basically a real estate investment strategy designed to help you build a rental portfolio. Okay. That's, if I was to give a definition, it would be in a book. That's what it would be.
All right, so that's the book definition, but BRRRR is actually an acronym. So we're gonna break that down right here, actually. And so the first one is B, and that one's pretty simple. It is the buying, okay? So the first thing that you're gonna do is buy. So baby, you wanna tell them or us anything that they need to know when buying?
Yeah, so the first part of the BRRRR method is the B, and the B stands for buying. So this will probably be the hardest part for you to do. So when you buy your first property, you have to probably have some type of down payment. So to buy your first property, you need to already have the credit or income or down payment to buy a property. But the first process is to buy a property and get it under contract, and that's step one, is to buy the first property. So you have to have a way to get it, either through having cash or a down payment or a combination of cash and credit.
All right, so that is the first step. Now the rest of the steps are all R's. So if you're taking notes, make sure you write these down, or you can always just rewind this video and you can watch it again. So the second step is the first R, which is rehab. So how do we get into that? So we first buy, and then the next step is to rehab.
Yeah, the second step is to rehab, but the second part is really important because you have to buy a property that needs to be rehabbed. So the whole method doesn't work if you don't buy a property that needs to be rehabbed, because that's the whole point that allows you to use this method to buy the next property and the next property. So it's buy, but it's buy a property that needs to be rehabbed. Okay,
so buy a property that needs work.
Yep, so the second part is when you buy a property, you rehab it, and when you rehab it, you increase the value of it, what it's worth, what it's going to appraise for, so just the overall value of the property. So when you rehab it, you fix it up, and you add value to it.
Okay. All right, y'all getting this?
That's the first R.
That's the first R. Now,
what's the sign language for R? What?
R.
R.
Okay.
R.
That's so whack. We're going to take that part completely out in post. But anyway, so the next R, so you got buy, you've got rehab. The next R is rent.
Yep.
Okay.
So the second R is rent. So you built value by rehabbing it.
Mm-hmm.
That means you added value to the physical property. Now you turn it into a business by renting it out. And so now it's like it becomes a business. So it's a thing of value saying, okay, now it goes from being worth $300,000 to $400,000 because you rehabbed it. But now you're adding value by putting a tenant in there.
Okay.
So the second one is to rent it out, and financial people, underwriters, banks, they see that this is a cash flowing property that only has value in the condition, but it brings in money per month or per year, however you want to look at it.
Okay, sounds good. So I feel like when people are looking to buy, that also is a consideration. You're not just looking for a place that you're going to that needs work, but it also needs to be a place that would be advantageous, a good rental, something that can be rented out. So hope you're taking notes on that, because we're kind of telling you the type of property that you'll want to look for. All right, so we went through buy, and then the next step is to rehab, and the next step is to rent. The next R is refinance. Okay, so really get into this one, babe, because this is where it gets good, and where we're really starting to talk about building wealth.
So on the refinance part, because you rehabbed the property and you rented the property, now allows you to refinance the property. So when you use the BRRRR method, because you took something that was messed up, that needed to be fixed up, and you fixed it up and added value that way, and you added a tenant and you added value that way, you now have equity. You have more value than what you bought it for. So like I like to use nice even round numbers. So let's say you bought a property for $70,000, right? You put $10,000 into it, so you have $80,000 into the property. So you did that rehab part, you put $10,000 into it. After you rehabbed it, the property is not worth 80 anymore. Let's say it's worth 100. So now you have $20,000 equity in the property. Let's say the property is worth 100,000. So when you refinance, you can pull that money out, a portion of it, or sometimes all of the equity, and that'll give you the cash to do the next R,
which
is to repeat. Yeah, so when you refinance, you do a cash out. It's called a cash out refinance. So you refinance, you have a property where you owe 70 or 80,000, and you can pull, let's just use even numbers, 20,000 out. So 20,000 gives you the down payment to repeat.
Do it again.
You have money to buy a new property or the next property.
Yeah.
So this is very important. It's a good investment strategy, because one of the things that happen is people say, I want to get into real estate. I want to have rental property. I want to be a landlord.
Yeah.
And they only have money to buy one property.
Right.
Then they have to do whatever they did to save up enough money to buy the next property. And that could take a very long time. Or you could just be like, they say that most of the rental properties are like one owner, landlords.
So very small mom and pop type. Corporate landlords don't start until you own 10. I just found that out. So most privately owned rental properties are just that. They're privately owned by, a family or a trust or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's recap.
Okay.
So the BRRRR method is to buy a property. Do whatever you need to do, save your money, do a line of credit, do whatever you have to do to buy that first property. After you bought the first property, you fix it up. You rehab the property, add value to it. Then you rent the property out, get a tenant in there paying the rent, and then you refinance. And when you refinance, you do a cash out, you pull money out, which will allow you to repeat the cycle all over again. So
Yeah.
that's the BRRRR method.
Yeah.
Another thing that I wanted to point out is the BRRRR method is extremely valuable right now, especially in this market, because prices are going up in value so much right now. And actually the BRRRR method is the reason why it's such a great system to use because it works in any market. So right now the prices go higher and higher and higher. So as the prices go higher, so does the requirement for the down payment. It gets higher. So if you're able to refinance and that provides a source of funding for you to buy the next property, it's extremely advantageous to take advantage of using a BRRRR method because you have that money for the down payment.
Yep, indeed. Are there any pitfalls to using the BRRRR method?
Pitfalls to using the BRRRR method. If a person just wants to, add value on the sheet of paper, like their net worth, if you don't pull money out of having equity on a property, you can say, oh, I'm worth X amount of dollars, because you haven't pulled money out. If you want to be like a safe person and provide a cushion, most of the times the lenders right now are only going to take you up to about 80% loan to value. So you can't pull, like the example I gave you before, you can't pull 100% of the value out. So most of the time you're at that 80%, 75% of the value of the home. That's what you can get a cash out refinance for. So you're not leveraging yourself all the way up to 100%, which that's why the real estate market crashed in 2009. People were getting 125% of what the property was valued. So that would have helped. In this market, it actually would have.
Because the value was,
but that's not the situation. So some of the pitfalls of it is you have to have a relationship with mortgage companies and banks to where you can refinance, but that's how they make money. So they want to make money. So that would be the only thing is you have to apply for another loan to refinance, but you have to do something if you want to build a rental portfolio.
That's true.
Yeah.
I mean, I think also one of the pitfalls would just be, not doing your due diligence and your research on, finding a good one.
Yeah.
It's, I think with all, especially real estate investing, taking your time, this is where it becomes very valuable to take your time and to do your research, do your due diligence, and make sure that you have a team around you that is helping you and that is very knowledgeable about the industry, don't you think?
That's a really good point because, I had a couple clients, that I work with on the property management side, and they're like, I want a rental property, and they look for the nicest property that doesn't need any work. And it's great that you can rent it out. Right. But
that's not going to work with the BRRRR method.
You're in real estate to make money, and so when it's better to buy a house that needs to be fixed up, fix it up. You're always going to look better number-wise than buying something already done where nothing needs to be done. You're always going to look better on the number side to buy a property. When people think flip houses or rehab houses, it's not always to sell. It's to refinance or have a good cushion in between what this property is worth and what you owe on it. And that's the name of the game, is creating that gap, whether it's real estate or anything else for that matter.
That's the truth. And I mean, I think this is a good time to put that little disclaimer up there. If you are heading into investing, or maybe you've been investing for a little while, and maybe you can agree with us or testify in the comments below that you've got to take your feelings out of it. This is business, okay? So like you said, trying to find the prettiest house on the block probably won't make dollars and cents. And that's what you want when you're talking about the BRRRR method, when you're talking about investing, period. You don't want to, be putting your emotions into it when you're trying to look for a good investment property, or especially when you're using this type of method, because you have to find something that's going to need a little bit of work. Another pitfall is, not knowing how much things are going to cost when they need to be rehabbed. So just make sure you do your research. and surround yourself with people that are really knowledgeable, because, you know, if you have a certain budget to put into that property, you want to make sure that you're spending wisely and that eventually you can refinance and repeat, because that's the whole premise, or that's the whole reason that you're going to do this method. So anything else?
That's pretty much it. I mean, the only way you would want to use the BRRRR method is if you're just buying one personal property for yourself, like a second home that you may rent out when you're not there. And even that, why not do the BRRRR method? Because you never know, you may want to buy another one. So the only way you would want it is if you buy the most expensive, nicest house on the street that doesn't need any work, most of the time you end up with a one and done, you know, situation. Or, you know, if it's a second home or something like that, that would be the only reason that you would probably not want to look for something that needs work doing the BRRRR method. But if you do it, it always provides the opportunity to get the next property.
Yeah. And that's the key, people. All right. So there you have it. You've got the BRRRR method, which is buy, rehab, I almost said rent, buy, rehab, rent, refinance, and repeat. And that is a strategy of how you can build wealth. One of the many strategies of how you can build wealth in real estate. And if you are looking for some assistance with that, you can always hit us up. You can put it in the comments or you can email us. It's in the description below. But in the meantime, make sure you subscribe to our channel. Hit that button. That's right, that little red button down there. Hit that subscribe button and hit that bell right next to it, and make sure that you're getting those notifications every time we give you new content. Well, folks, that has been another episode of Ask Jameen, and we will see you next time.